Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive into AI music. We're going to be talking about some pretty mind-blowing stuff today. Like, can a machine really write a song that, gives you goosebumps? And what does all this mean for the future of, actual human musicians?
It really makes you think about what creativity even is, Can a computer be creative?
Yeah, for real. So how does AI even make music in the first place? Does it just, listen to a ton of Mozart or something and then, start spitting out concertos?
Well, it's not quite that simple, but the idea of learning is kind of there. It's like, imagine teaching someone a new language, but instead of words, it's like they're learning music. Notes, chords, rhythms, that kind of thing. AI gets trained on massive data sets of music. We're talking thousands and thousands of songs.
Whoa, that's a lot of music. So what, does it just magically become the next Beethoven or something?
Not exactly. It uses these things called algorithms to analyze all that data, things like machine learning and neural networks. So the AI can actually pick out patterns in the music, like in the melody, the harmony, the rhythm. It's kind of like if you showed someone a million paintings, they'd probably start to get a feel for different styles and techniques, right?
Right, yeah. Okay, so it's not just straight up copying other music.
No, it's more like it's learning the rules of music, and then it uses that knowledge to create something new. There are some pretty amazing tools out there, by the way, like MuseNet, AIVA, Amper Music. They can actually write original pieces in tons of different styles, or even do this thing called style transfer, where it mimics a certain composer.
So you're saying I could have an AI write a song that sounds just like, Taylor Swift. That's kind of freaky, but also super cool. What about people who want to be musicians? What does this mean for them?
Well, one really cool thing is that it lets people make music even if they don't know, how to play an instrument or anything. Think about it. Independent filmmakers could make their own soundtracks. YouTubers could add original music to their videos.
Whoa, that's a huge game changer. I'm starting to see how this could make music, way more accessible for everyone. But here's a question. If AI is making music that sounds so real, how can you even tell if it was written by a person or a computer?
It's getting harder and harder, honestly, and that's leading to a lot of debate about what it even means to be creative. If an AI can make a song that moves you, does it matter if a human didn't write it?
That's a big question. I bet people have some strong opinions about that.
Oh yeah, people definitely have strong opinions on that one. It really messes with how we think about who owns music and stuff. But maybe instead of getting all philosophical, we should look at how AI music is actually being used out in the world.
Yeah, good point. What are some examples of that? Is this stuff actually happening already?
Oh, it's totally happening, and you're probably hearing it all the time without even realizing it. Think about those personalized playlists you get on Spotify or Apple Music, for example.
Oh yeah, those are pretty freaky sometimes. It's how do they know what I want to listen to? Is there some kind of, music wizard behind the scenes or something?
Not quite a wizard, but AI is definitely involved. Those algorithms are analyzing what you listen to, what you like, and using that to recommend new stuff you might be into.
So that's how it works. I never really thought about that. But wait, so AI isn't just making playlists, right? I feel like I've heard about it being used in other ways too.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's being used in tons of stuff. Video games, for one. It can create those dynamic soundtracks that change depending on what's happening in the game.
That's so cool. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And then there's advertising, AI can write those catchy jingles that get stuck in your head. And even therapy. Some therapists use AI to create these soothing soundscapes to help people relax.
Wow, so it's everywhere. I remember reading something about AI being used to write film scores too.
Yeah, that's a big one. Think about it. Instead of a composer spending hours and hours writing every single note, they can use AI to create some of the basic tracks or even whole sections of the music. Then they can focus on the more creative stuff, the details that make the score really unique.
So it's like a digital assistant for composers. That's pretty awesome.
Totally. It could change how movies are made, honestly. And get this, some musicians are even using AI in live performances now.
Wait, really? On stage?
Yep. There are AI systems that can improvise along with musicians in real time. I saw this video the other day of a jazz pianist playing with an AI, and it was mind-blowing.
That sounds incredible. So it's this whole new level of collaboration between humans and machines.
Exactly. It opens up so many possibilities for new kinds of music, and who knows what'll happen as the technology keeps getting better. Maybe someday we'll have, AI symphony orchestras or something.
Whoa, that's kind of scary, but also super exciting. It really makes you wonder what's going to happen to, human musicians in the future.
Yeah, it's the big question, isn't it? Will robots take over the music industry? I think it's more complicated than that, though.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. Like, the printing press didn't replace writers, right? It just changed how they worked. AI is probably going to be similar for musicians.
So you're saying it's more about adapting than, like, being replaced?
Yeah, I think so. Musicians who learn how to use AI as a tool, they're going to have a huge advantage. It can make them more efficient, more creative, help them reach a wider audience.
That makes sense. It's like any new technology, really. Got to figure out how to use it to your advantage.
Totally. It's not about humans versus machines. It's about humans A&D machines working together. That's what's really exciting about this whole AI music thing.
I agree. But there's got to be some downsides too, right? Like, with any technology, there are always risks involved.
Oh, for sure. We got to be careful about things like copyright issues, making sure people's music isn't being used without permission. And data privacy is a big one, too.
Right. And what about bias? Like, if the AI is trained on mostly, Western classical music, does that mean it won't be able to create other kinds of music?
That's a great point. We got to make sure the AI is learning from a wide variety of music. Otherwise, it'll just end up making more of the same, And that could be a problem, especially if it starts reinforcing existing inequalities in the music industry.
Yeah, definitely. We need to make sure AI is being used responsibly and ethically, and not just making things worse.
Absolutely. That's why it's so important to keep talking about AI ethics and how to make sure this technology benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Wow, this has been quite the journey into the world of AI music. We've covered so much ground. I mean, from the technical stuff about how it works to the philosophical questions about creativity and even the impact on the music industry as a whole.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. And it's all changing so fast, too.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you think people should know about the future of AI music? Like, what's on the horizon?
I think the biggest takeaway is that we're just getting started. AI music is still in its early stages, and there's so much more to come. The next few years are going to be really exciting, I think. We're going to see some crazy advancements, and it'll be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Man, it feels like we've just scratched the surface of this whole AI music thing. There's so much to think about, so many possibilities, and honestly, some things that make me a little nervous about the future, too.
Yeah, that's how it always is with new technology, right? It's exciting, it's intriguing, but there's always that little bit of what if hanging over everything. Thinking back on all we've talked about today, what do you think is the biggest change AI music might bring about?
That's a tough one. But I think for me, it's how we define what it means to be a musician or a composer. If AI can create music on its own, does that somehow, lessen what human artists do? Or could it be like this whole new way for humans and technology to work together and create something even more amazing?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. But looking back at history, technology doesn't usually replace creativity. It just it transforms it. Photography didn't kill painting, movies didn't kill theater, and I don't think AI will make human musicians obsolete either.
That's actually really reassuring to hear. Yeah, I don't want to imagine a world without the passion and emotion that real live musicians bring to their music. But at the same time, I can totally see how AI could be this incredible tool for musicians. Like, imagine getting over writer's block with an AI assist, or experimenting with sounds you could never create on your own.
Exactly. Think about it. An AI composing a movie score that changes in real time depending on what's happening on screen. Or like a personalized soundtrack for your commute that adapts to your mood or the scenery you're passing. Pretty mind-blowing stuff.
Okay, now you're making me want to live in the future. It really feels like we're heading towards this fusion of like human creativity and artificial creativity. Music could become so much more immersive and personalized.
I think you're right on the money with that. And it circles back to what we were talking about earlier, the ethics of all this. AI is only going to get more powerful and more woven into our lives. So we have to be having these conversations about responsible development, bias in the data, and how it's going to affect people's jobs and livelihoods.
It's so easy to get caught up in the cool factor of AI.
Yeah.
Like, wow, it can do all this amazing stuff. But you're right, we can't forget about the human side of things. How do we make sure AI benefits everyone involved in music, not just the tech companies or whoever's creating the algorithms?
Those are questions we all need to be asking, not just musicians or the people developing the technology. As AI music becomes more and more common, listeners have a responsibility too. Like, think about how the music was made. Support artists who are using AI in ethical ways And be aware of the potential for bias, you know?
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation. I feel like we've just dipped our toes in the water, but it's definitely given me a lot to think about. AI music isn't some far-off sci-fi thing anymore. It's here, it's changing fast, and it's asking some big questions that we all need help answer.
I couldn't agree more. And the answers aren't going to come from just one person or one perspective. It's going to take all of us talking, thinking critically, and being willing to embrace the complexity of this whole new world of music.
Well said. And to everyone listening out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. If you found this episode interesting, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with a friend who you think would enjoy this kind of discussion. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep the music playing.